I'm a senior in college. The first time I came into contact with Buddhism was when I was a sophomore in college. From then on, I would recite the 6-character Great Ming mantra, or the Chunti mantra, when I walked or before going to bed. But maybe it was because the chanting at that time was not as good as the Dharma, so I felt that it had no special effect. Therefore, reciting mantras is like fishing for 3 days and drying the nets for 2 days. It is not very diligent. It wasn't until half a year ago that I came across Brother Zhuik's blog at Huxenting. In the past 2 months, when I read most of Brother Zhuik's blog posts at Huxenting, it was like watching a wonderful movie. After that, changes began. I once read an article called The Special Miraculous Induction of Reciting the Junti Mantra, which mentioned the method of reciting the mantra taught by Mr. Nan Huaijin. This is the 4th day after my written examination. I used to work at Sharp Wuxi Company, and one of my roommates received an offer from Sharp. Since there were no offers from any company at that time, I very much hoped to be admitted by Sharp. I was admitted and was admitted to Sharp. When I left the dormitory and went to the teaching building, I kept chanting the Junti mantra and asked Guanyin Bodhisattva to bless me. XX was hired as an employee by Sharp. As a result, I was ranked first that day. Class, more than half an hour later, I received a call from Sharp, informing me that I was hired by Sharp, and then they discussed some salary issues with me. I hung up the phone. Answer the phone! When I read this, I was very happy, and at the same time, I was deeply shocked by the efficacy of Junti mantra. It was this experience that inspired me to diligently recite the Junti mantra. After receiving the offer from Sharp, I was not satisfied with the salary and wanted to find a better job. Because I saw the effect of the Junti mantra, I recited the Junti mantra every day in the next few days, hoping to bless me Essex to find a job with a monthly salary of more than 5,000. After that, I attended a large job fair held by the school. By chance, I was fortunate enough to participate in the written test and interview of a very competitive company. On the day of the job fair, only this company clearly posted the salary starting at $5,500 for undergraduates and $7,500 for graduate students, employment status. The situation this year is different. Well, this salary is considered a very good salary this year, so applicants are flocking to it. The written test and interview that day were undoubtedly the smoothest among all my written tests and interviews. I completed almost all the written test questions at that time. During the interview process, I used to be very passive when the interviewer asked questions, but this time the interviewer seemed to follow my lead, and I answered the interviewer's questions fluently. I also talked a lot about some of my previous internship experiences. The interviewer seemed satisfied with me. Finally, he wrote some comments below my resume and added 2 stars. A few minutes later, the human resources director called me into the office and told me on the spot that I had been hired. My salary is $5,500 plus free lunch and dinner. Anyway, the job I found is already very good among my classmates. That day was seriously the happiest I've been in a while. Not only did I find a satisfying job, but more importantly, I once again experienced the power and extraordinary power of reciting the Buddhist Junti mantra. I had been reciting the mantra for less than a week, and the Bodhisattva blessed me to find a job with a monthly salary of $5,500.
Now, I still recite the Chunti mantra every day, but I always pray for my parents because one needs to know how to be content. I am very satisfied with my current job. Perhaps my greatest achievement during this period was not that I found a satisfying job, but that I witnessed with my own eyes the miraculous response to chanting the Chunti mantra. It made me know whether Buddhism is true or not, and greatly inspired me to study Buddhism diligently. I am confident that I will get rid of my worries as soon as possible and gain happiness as soon as possible. At the same time, I also hope that fellow practitioners who have read my story will be brave enough to study Buddhism diligently, get rid of troubles as soon as possible, and gain happiness as soon as possible. There is a disciple from Central and South America. He was originally an atheist, but after studying in a Buddhist lecture hall, he was gradually influenced by what he saw and heard. He also read some translated versions of Buddhist scriptures and occasionally asked some questions. Gradually, he also missed the curse. At first I taught him to recite the 6-character mantra of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. He was immediately shocked and said that he had heard this mantra since he was a child. It was a line his grandparents often recited, but he was still young at the time. So he didn't take it seriously. He felt particularly excited now when he heard what the teacher said to him. It turns out that the mantra recited by the primitive people of Central and South America is actually very close to the 6-character mantra. There are 6 words written on it. They are said to be particularly effective in this regard. Later, I also taught him the Zanti mantra, and he recited it every day. Because he was once a special correspondent stationed in the United States. He once went to the United States for a business trip and went shopping at night. Unexpectedly, he encountered 3 black men who wanted to steal his property. In times of crisis, he kept reciting the Zanti mantra. Strangely, the black man who originally planned to steal his property changed his mind and said something irrelevant. Finally, they told reporters that the streets were not peaceful and asked him not to drive on the streets at night in the future. Otherwise, the area is very dangerous. This incident allowed him to survive safely. Another time, he said, in the following days, he inexplicably encountered a dispute between gang members at a dinner party. One of the team members picked up the prepared pistol and started shooting wildly. The disciple was frightened by this sudden action, and his instinctive reaction was to constantly recite the Chanti mantra and pray for the protection of Chanti Bodhisattva. One of the bullets actually passed through the hairline of his left ear and hit a white man sitting next to him. The white man died on the way to the hospital. After this incident happened, he bought a plane ticket and flew to Taipei a few days later to see me and asked to convert to Buddhism. The following is a wonderful sharing by a senior Japanese researcher. Originally, the work in 2017 was going smoothly, but at the end of October and the beginning of November 2017, I encountered a bottleneck at work, and I couldn't solve it. Every day I was urged by the leader, looked down upon, and received sarcastic comments. I felt the limit both mentally and physically. I couldn't eat or sleep every day. I was very depressed and felt like the sky was about to fall. When I asked my colleague, he worked hard with me for a long time and couldn't find a solution at all. I called one of my senior brothers, the great virtuous teacher who has been guiding me on the road to learning Buddhism, and explained why I suddenly encountered this situation when everything was going well for a year. The senior brother did the math and said, I just caught up with such a fleeting luck. I asked my senior brother to help me light a lamp in front of the Buddha, hoping to help me solve my work problems smoothly. However, on the first day when the lights were turned on, the attitude of the leaders seemed to be better, but the improvement was not great. Sometimes the work problems seemed to be solved, and sometimes they failed. Even my colleagues felt at a loss. They were facing the danger of being fired if they didn't solve the problem. At that time, I had no choice but to dream about solving work problems every night. One night, I contacted my senior brother again, and he said to me, if you believe me, put down everything you practice first, focus on the Chanti mantra, and let your blessings improve first. Chanti Bodhisattva will definitely do it. Can help you get through difficult times. Because I have great confidence in my senior brother, when I heard this sentence, I put down all the holy chants of Ksitagarbha Bodhisattva, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, Great Compassion Mantra, Heart Sutra and other holy chants that I usually practice, and recited Zanti. Hold the Zanti mantra wholeheartedly. I was being very sincere. I said to Chanti Bodhisattva, please bless me and help me overcome the difficulties at work. At that time, I not only recited the mantra, I really prayed to the Buddha and Bodhisattva wholeheartedly, using the Chanti mantra as a life-saving straw. As soon as I opened my eyes the next day, I started reciting the Zanti mantra vigorously, while walking, standing, sitting and lying down, hoping for the blessing of the Mother Buddha. After arriving at the company, my colleagues were still helping me find solutions in software system development. I silently and vigorously recited the Zanti mantra beside me, and visualized the Buddha Mother Zanti sitting on my colleagues' heads to bless them. Unexpectedly, a miracle happened at this time. A problem that my colleagues and I had not solved for more than half a month suddenly found a solution by accident. In the words of a colleague, happiness came too suddenly. I vowed to recite the Chanti mantra 10,000 times to solve problems at work. However, once the most important part was taken care of, I didn't recite the mantra as diligently. So from time to time, leaders would come to me for a little trouble because of this project. When I finished reciting my vows 10,000 times, the project was successfully completed. I am very grateful to Mother Zanti, and may I continue to be diligent in practicing the Zanti mantra. In 2017, I looked at houses for nearly a whole year. They either had bad feng shui, were too far from the center of the city, or were too expensive to afford. I once fell in love with a house, but I couldn't buy it because of problems with the loan. In short, buying a house was not smooth sailing. I finally fell in love with a house. The feng shui is perfect, but the location is very remote. It takes 45 minutes by train from the center of the city. There is nothing near the house. If I want to go to a convenience store, I have to walk for nearly 10 minutes. The nearest supermarket it also takes 10 minutes to walk, and it closes very early in the evening. The main thing was that there was a funeral home on the way home. For various reasons, I gave up on that house. After about 8 or 9 months, I looked at more than 100 houses, but I just couldn't find the right one. But now that it's November, I have given up hope of buying a house within the year. I called my senior brother again to ask if I really had no luck in buying a house. The senior brother checked and said, "Yes, why isn't it? If you want to buy one, you will definitely have one. Hold the Zanti mantra well and pray to the Mother Buddha. Your wishes will definitely be fulfilled." So I said to Zanti Bodhisattva, I hope Mother Buddha will bless me. I hope I can find a house with similar feng shui to the house I gave up. It is closer to the city center and preferably more prosperous. I hope it can. It's me. Affordable housing. At that time, my family all laughed at me and said, "Do you have to get all the blessings?" I only asked for a house once and never asked for it again. I just hope to buy a house with the right feng shui as soon as possible. I still say the mantra on time every day. Suddenly, a family member saw news about a house on the internet. They feel really good about it. I called to inquire and was told that it was sold and gone. Unexpectedly, a few days later, there were still 4 villas for sale in that community. We hurried over to look at the houses. Among them, we were very satisfied with building number 2 and felt that the feng shui problem was not big. My family suddenly said to me, "Look at the layout of this house. Is it almost exactly the same as the house I gave up before?" I took out the layout diagram of the previous house and compared it. Whether it is the layout of the blue dragon and white tiger when entering, or the number of rooms on the first and second floors, they are exactly the same. The only thing is that the balcony is slightly smaller than the original house, almost exactly the same. Since we drove to see the house, we knew nothing about the surrounding environment, so we walked from the station to the house and found that there were not only several large shopping malls but also convenience stores nearby. It is within a 3-minute walk from home and a 30-minute bus ride from the city center, which fully meets my requirements. Through the real estate company opened by a friend, I started to apply for a bank loan in November. On December 28, the house was successfully transferred to my name with 0 down payment. When I applied for a loan, I waited for days, almost impatient because I had been rejected the first time. Although I was convinced that Zanti Bodhisattva would help me, I still gave it to me uneasily. My senior brother called. My senior brother drew a talisman for me and helped me light a lamp in front of the Buddha. I asked if it was possible not to get a loan. The senior brother said, "It's quick, recite the Zanti mantra quickly and your loan will be approved soon." I put down the phone and started chanting the Zanti mantra. Unexpectedly, news came that night that the loan had been approved, but there was no news about the renovation loan I applied for. So I asked my senior brother, if I recite the Zanti mantra and believe in Zanti Bodhisattva, the renovation loan will also come down? Senior brother said that as long as you firmly believe, there will be absolutely no problem. I calmed down and continued to pray fiercely to the Buddha. Unexpectedly, less than an hour and a half later, the news came that the renovation loan had also been approved. I was so excited that I couldn't control myself. Chanti Bodhisattva is truly compassionate and efficacious. Namo, Sadona, San Miao San Puto. Ju Ji Nan, Da Ji Ta, Om, J Li, Zu Li, Zun Ti, Suo Po Ho. Namo, Sadona, San Miao San Puto. Ju Ji Nan, Da Ji Ta, Om, J Li, Zu Li, Zun Ti, Suo Po Ho. Namo, Sadona, San Miao San Puto. Ju Ji Nan, Da Ji Ta, Om, J Li, Zu Li, Zun Ti, Suo Po Ho. Namo, Sadona, San Miao San Puto. Ju Ji Nan, Da Ji Ta, Om, J Li, Zu Li, Zun Ti, Suo Po Ho. Namo, Sadona, San Miao San Puto. Ju Ji Nan, Da Ji Ta, Om, J Li, Zu Li, Zun Ti, Suo Po Ho. Namo, Sadona, San Miao San Puto. Ju Ji Nan, Da Ji Ta, Om, J Li, Zu Li, Zun Ti, Suo Po Ho.